Now, 40k as a concept is very good for cosplayers, as it allows people to dress up in big suits of armor or dress up as alien races. And joining me today is Giulietta Zawadzki, who you may know better as the cosplayer of the Emperor of Mankind that's been making the rounds on the internet. So, firstly, Giulietta, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
So, first thing I want to ask is, what inspired you to actually do your cosplay of the Emperor?
Well, I've always really been interested in Warhammer way before I kind of did anything with it. I mean, I've never played the game, which I really regret not learning, but I was more interested in painting, being an artist. And I came across the Emperor's a piece of concept art of the Emperor, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, this has to be my next costume. So it happened from there, and then I looked more into it and kind of fell in love more with the Emperor himself, and just thought, yeah, this is it.
Are there any other particular Warhammer cosplays you might consider doing in future?
There are actually. I'm still undecided on which one to do, because I want to do. I know it's I'll get a lot of shtick for it, for the heresy of it, but I'd like to do potentially a baddie, and I was thinking of Nagash. He is really awesome. I'd love to do him. I've actually kind of started his costume, which I haven't really told anybody about it, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it's an exclusive for us then, folks, isn't it? So, tell us more about the process of actually making a cosplay.
Well, obviously, you've got to research it first. You've got to make sure that you've got pictures of the front of the costume, the back, everything that you kind of need to know, the information to kind of start with that. And then depending on, for instance, the Emperor is not to fit my body, it's to kind of add bulk. So you would do that differently to the Nagash one, because that one would be to fit my body. So, you would make a pattern around yourself and then just kind of add to that.
And how long does it normally take you to actually make one of these cosplays?
It kind of seems to be a bit of a trend at the moment for me, and I think the longest I've ever taken on a costume is about 2 months, because I like to spend all day every day on it until it's done.
Okay. And is it quite an expensive thing to do, to procure all the materials and that?
It can be. I mean, the Emperor was made out of Eva foam, so that wasn't particularly that expensive. But when you start to move on to more durable materials like Warbler, oh god, you expect to be poor.
So how much did your Emperor cosplay set you back so far?
I've been asked this before, and I tend to not I keep track of how much it costs, but when you kind of don't want to look at it, I reckon it costs between about 300 to 500, but I don't think it really costs that much.
I mean, it's a lot less than I was expecting, because some people that you see, some of these other professional cosplayers who spend, thousands upon thousands of dollars just on their cosplay, which doesn't really consist of that much. So that's actually surprising that it's actually come out so cheap, considering how good it actually looks as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think it really depends on if you make everything from scratch. Now, sometimes it can cost... Well, I don't know. I don't think I could ever really spend thousands of dollars on a costume. I don't think it would ever really cost me that much, because I'm quite resourceful. I save household objects that people just want to throw away, and you'd be surprised at how helpful that is and how much it can save you. So yeah, I tend to try to pick things that aren't particularly material wise that expensive.
So how long have you actually been into Warhammer 40,000 as a whole, or Warhammer in general, including Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, and all the other side projects?
Well, I started noticing, the workshop store back when I was at university, and me and my partner at the time, both being artists, were like, oh, we should totally get into painting these, and that's how I kind of started. And then I kind of things. Well, I suppose actually cosplay. That's when I started to get into cosplay, and cosplay kind of takes over my life now. And I don't really have time to paint the figurines, which I kind of miss doing, but now I make, bigger figurines technically and get to paint them.
Yeah.
But I only really recently started looking into the actual lore of Warhammer, like quite recently. So I am a bit of a newbie.
Everyone's got to start somewhere, so don't feel ashamed about it. Have you acquired any of the art books to help with your research? For example, like the Visions of Heresy book that Black Library produced as an accompaniment to the Horus Heresy novel series.
No, I haven't, but I do have quite a few of the indexes, and I also occasionally treat myself to the Warhammer magazine that comes out monthly.
Oh, is that White Dwarf?
Yeah, that kind of helps me pick characters to cosplay in the future as well.
So aside from Nagash, who else are you looking to potentially cosplay as?
Oh god, there was loads. Loads of people want me to do Primarchs, but I'm not really sure, really.
That would actually be really interesting to see your take on Primarchs. I actually would be interested, particularly something like seeing Angron. Considering Angron's got all the cables in his head from the butcher's nails implants, I'd like to see how you would tackle that.
Well, quite a lot of people want me to do Horus, which, I'm a bit uncertain about because obviously of what he did to the Emperor, and I kind of just don't like him because I'm obviously an Emperor fan.
Fair enough. What about any of the Xenos species? Like, would you ever consider doing an Eldar or a Necron cosplay or anything like that?
Well, I was really interested in the lore behind the Necron and the Eldar, but there are actually quite a few cosplayers now that have done Necrons, and they've done them on such a professional level that I feel like as if I did one, I wouldn't be able to contribute to it. I know I couldn't do it better than them, so
okay.
I wouldn't.
Well, I'll tell you what one you probably would be really good at, and this is based on one of your other cosplays that I have seen. You could probably make a really good Hive Tyrant cosplay based on your Alien Queen cosplay.
Yeah.
So,
that's what to think about.
Yeah. And there's not too many people who do Tyrant cosplays either, so it'd be nice and refreshing to do as well.
Yeah, I think I like picking costumes that not many people have done before, just so it's a bit more refreshing to see one.
Yeah. No, I can totally agree where you're coming from there. So what advice would you give to someone who's getting into the whole cosplay scene?
Oh, okay, well, okay then. I would say always research your character that you want to cosplay. If it's your first ever costume, I would pick with something just a little bit easier, just to kind of ease you into the cosplay scene. I mean, there's nothing worse than picking something that you've got no idea what you're doing, and then you get so frustrated that it kind of puts you off cosplay, because cosplay is really fun. I mean, you might be interested in actually becoming that character or just the art side of it, but the last thing you want to do is have a crappy time and regret doing it. So yeah, I would say pick an easy character first and just research it.
And what's it like when you go to these conventions and are dressed up in your cosplays, particularly your Emperor cosplay? How do people generally react to you?
Well, I think quite a lot of people obviously really like it. They like the fact that it's huge, and even people who don't really know who the Emperor is, they're like, oh wow, I've never seen that before and it's fantastic. I do get obviously a lot of die-hard Warhammer fans that have an issue with the fact that I'm a female Emperor, and which kind of spoils it for me, because at the end of the day, I can't only pick female cosplays to do. Otherwise, what's the point? But yeah, other than that, a lot of people really do enjoy it.
Well, at the end of the day, when you cosplay, you're putting your own spin on something, aren't you? So it doesn't mean you have to conform to a set rule. I mean, you're not actually, a character within the lore or the game itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think people kind of forget that I'm not actually the emperor. I'm not trying to like, they're like, oh, death to the false emperor, and sometimes it can just be like, okay, I get it. Like after hearing it for 50 times that day, and it's like, I know that you really like Warhammer, so do I, but just chill, please.
Well, if you can have blokes dressing up as Squirrel Girl or Misty from Pokemon,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's fair to say that all's fair in love and cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm quite a chill person, so yeah, I just don't understand why people have to have that kind of view on life.
Have
I'm just
you?
enjoy it.
Sorry to interrupt. Have you ever thought about donning your Emperor costume and just walking into a Games Workshop and see how the staff react?
Do you know, I would actually really like to do that. I was gonna plan on doing it to the one near me, but I need like I need a group of people to kind of help me like get there and stuff like that. But if I ever do, I'll definitely record it.
It's actually reminds me of something that happened years ago. This is when I was first getting into Warhammer. This is back in the late '90s. I was back living down in Reading, and I was in the Games Workshop playing a game. Because you got the big game days on Sundays. It was like kids versus the staff, and this guy just comes in a full Blood Angels suit of power armor, and everyone was just like, "Whoa." Because no one was expecting it, and like all the staff were just like giving him like like the fist on the heart salute, like for the emperor and stuff. And that was really cool, especially like you're a little kid.
Yeah, that must be amazing. I'm just kind of worried though that like people, if I walked in, they'd be like, "Well, you're not the emperor because you're a woman." But I don't know. I would definitely like to do it.
I'm sure the staff overall probably would be quite supportive just because of seeing the amount of effort you put into an emperor costume, regardless of gender.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you ever thought about going to any of the games days or the what's it called, Warhammer Fest? In
Um,
full cosplay, because you do get quite a few people going there. Not particularly as something as big as Power Armor, but generally you see more like Inquisitors and Sisters of Battle cosplayers and stuff like that. But seeing someone in full Power Armor regalia would be quite an impressive sight.
I didn't actually know that that was a thing until recently when I went to Namco for the release of the Eternal Crusades game. I didn't actually know that there was like an event dedicated to Warhammer, so I think now I definitely would do that.
You should get, especially if you go there, you should get some of your friends to cosplay as custodians as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And now that I've mentioned custodians, there's going to be someone in the comments who's going to shout kitten. I guarantee it.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a series online called If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device. Basically, after the Emperor's been put in the Golden Throne, and he's essentially just, a sentient corpse, but it's basically set in modern-day 40k. And he just talks like Stephen Hawking, and it's actually quite hilarious.
Okay.
And he's got a caretaker called Kitten, so...
Oh, okay then. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah. There you go, Alpha View, so that's another shout-out for you. I've done one of these. You owe me big time. Anyway, moving on. So, after looking at all the artwork, is there any particular artist you're a major fan of?
Within the Warhammer.
Yeah, like someone like, say, John Blanche or Mark Gibbons or anything like that.
To be honest, I hadn't really taken notice. I came across, I know obviously it was a fan art of the Emperor again, which I only discovered after I'd made my costume. I'll have to find out what her name was, but I fell in love with the fact that she was so talented and obviously like a female artist. And she did like the most amazing drawing, a digital drawing of the Emperor, and I was like, oh my god.
Was it a monochrome drawing? Because I think I might know who the artist is.
I'm not sure actually. It's the Emperor and he's got a lamb or in his claw.
Oh, no, I don't know the answer to that one, but I know which picture you're on about because that's actually an awesome picture.
Yeah, like wow. If I wish actually that I'd seen that before I started my costume, because I would have based it off that exact drawing otherwise.
Have you ever considered doing a Chaos Emperor version?
I'm not sure, because going back to the kind of heresy comments, I think it would just kind of blow up with that again.
I suppose so. Some people are a little too. Don't get me wrong, I understand that, I appreciate a lot of passion some people have, but some people take it a little too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I find it kind of ruined it for me, because once you've spent like, 2 months solid on a costume, and to have and like you're really proud of it, because I didn't think I was able to make a costume like that. And I mean, I'm very new to the cosplay scene as well. I've only been cosplaying like just over a year now, and to have people like, especially to your face, kind of shout those comments. I mean, like, normally I take it with a pinch of salt and it doesn't bother me, but it gets to a point where it's like, okay, I've had enough now.
I think in fairness with some people who shout death to the false emperor purely because of the fact they're chaos players. So, and
Yeah.
that's saying chaos space means chant to the Imperium. So I don't think it's necessarily a comment against you. I think it's just them keeping into the spirit of that being a chaos player.
Well, it's more the gender comments about the fact that I'm a female emperor, which, because I mean, like I can take a joke, and sometimes when people shout heresy and that, I laugh at them and whatnot. But yeah, I do have an issue when people have an issue with my gender when it comes to this cosplay.
Because from comments I've seen with your pictures that have been circulating around, because loads of people have been sharing them on all the 140,000 Facebook groups and all that, and reception I've seen has been generally pretty positive. People have been really impressed with your work.
Yeah, to be honest, like I can't believe how like lovely people are about the costume, and I'm really like made up with it, which is always been my intention, to have like people appreciate my work. It always makes you feel really good as an artist.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah, I can imagine. So, do you have any what's the term? Well, people you look up to who inspire you within the cosplay scene. Any professional cosplayers who inspire you?
Definitely Kamui Cosplay. She is just amazing at making costumes. I love her work. I love how she's able to like. To be honest, I must admit, the way that I learned how to cosplay was through her. She taught me what I knew, and I just kind of adapted from that. And now I kind of have branched off, and I feel like I can, kind of do things on my own. She's definitely one I would recommend for people to look at if they were to start cosplaying. And then there was Bill Doran. Now, basically, Kamui uses Warbler and Bill uses craft foam or Eva foam. So they're both really good cosplayers to kind of learn off, how to create costumes, because they use two contrasting materials, and like the price difference is like one of the important things as well. So yeah, I'd recommend people look at them.
Cool. And are there any particular cosplayers that you really have a disdain for?
Honestly, no. I'm one of those people that unless you are hurting me directly or anybody else, you can do whatever you want, and as long as you're passionate about it and you're having fun, and then good on you. I always try to see the positive in people.
Fair enough. That's a rare thing in a lot of people these days, in fairness, so, I can respect that. Yeah. And you have your own YouTube channel now as well, don't you?
Yeah, I'm branching off into that now.
Okay, do you want to tell us about what kind of stuff you'll be covering on that?
Well, I'm wanting to. I have a lot of people, come up to me and say like, Giulietta, how do I make this? And I really need your help with this. And I feel like as if now I kind of know enough to obviously make my own costumes that I could potentially help others. So I'm going to try making cosplay tutorials and the occasional silly video, you know.
Sounds like a good thing. I think it's really good as well. You're actually doing tutorial videos as well, because obviously, as you said, it is kind of imposing to get into at first, especially if you're not sure what you're doing. So having people out there, giving these tutorials is actually be really beneficial. I mean, to be honest, I wish I could cosplay, but my crafting skills are worth crap.
Well, the thing is, though, you'd be surprised at how easy cosplay can actually be. It's just whether you have the time to do it.
Yeah, because I can imagine it must take, I mean, how long did it actually take to make your Emperor costume?
It actually took me a full 2 months non-stop.
Non-stop? And how many hours a day would you be working on it?
Oh, well, I'd get up at about 7:30, and then have my breakfast. So I'd probably start about 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night, maybe with an hour's break for like dinner or whatever. But I'm very passionate about cosplay. I have a degree in art, so I've always been very artistic, and this is kind of like my way of expressing myself. So I kind of like pour my time into this.
So this is a rough calculation. That's roughly around 600 hours you put into your cosplay.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed.
It's a little bit sad when you kind of say it like that.
Yeah. I would say it's. I mean, some people spend that time just painting the models.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, though, after you've done it, you always feel really good about it, because it's like, I've put all these hours in, and it really shows as well.
Yeah. I think the same can be said about the cosplay, though, can't it? It's, because obviously if you're going around, there are going to be people taking pictures at your events, and you can have them, in a portfolio and look for it when you're older, going, yeah, I made that. I did that all by myself.
Yeah, that's true. I always kind of look back at my costumes and think, did I really make that?
And out of all the costumes, or cosplays rather, that you've actually made, which one are you most proud of?
It's kind of between my Alien Queen and my Daedra Karma, because my Alien Queen one, I felt like I could have done so much better on it. I mean, I'm really proud of the helmet. I mean, that actually genuinely makes kids cry. It can be that scary sometimes. So I'm really impressed with that, but I don't really like the rest of the costume. I mean, I only had 3 weeks to make that, and
You made that in 3 weeks?
yeah, well, I started making it, and then I was like, this Comic-Con's coming up, like, I'm not going to have time to do it, so I'm just going to abandon it for now. And then Sigourney Weaver was announced, and I was like, oh my god, like, I've got 3 weeks left to make this costume. I have to make it, and I have to meet her. So I kind of was just like, right, I'm not going to sleep until this costume is done.
Did you manage to show Sigourney Weaver your costume?
I did, and I actually met her and I got a photo with her, so...
That's awesome. What did she think of it?
She just kind of like... She was really shocked, and she's like, oh wow, it's the Queen. But there were so many people wanting photos with her that it was kind of like, next. So I didn't really get to talk to her much, which was a shame, but,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not really keen on the rest of the costume. I feel like as if I could make it so much better, but with the time limit that I had, it was kind of like, well, I've got to do what I know. So I kind of made it like a human hybrid armor type. And then, but it's also between my Daedra Karma, because my Daedra Karma was my first ever armor, and it just came out so well. Like I've never had a problem with it. Even when I wear it at Comic-Cons, like everything fit perfectly. It was just pure luck, basically. And it's one of those costumes that when I wear it, I feel good about it. So, but now, even after like I've got experience on making some other costumes, things can go wrong, and you only really know after you've worn it to a Comic-Con.
Which leads me up to my next question. What was the biggest mishap you've ever had with one of your costumes?
It would, there's a few actually. The Alien Queen one, when I took it to the first Comic Con to meet Sigourney, the second day, or I think when I was taking it off after the first day, the tail snapped off. So I was like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do? I literally duct taped it. So I glued the duct tape to the tail. So like that is now 100% part of the costume. But also with the Emperor costume, when I first ever wore that to London MCM, I still didn't have enough time to finish that costume, and the stilts, when I wore it the first day, I literally had to walk a mile from the van to the front door of the Comic-Con, and I got to the big ramp at the bottom, and my stilts literally like broke. And I was like, oh, I'm like, there was nobody around me, and I was like, I don't know how to get out of this costume, and I can't walk any further, so like, what do I do? So yeah, I mean, obviously, like, long story short, some random people helped me out my costume. They managed to help me fix my stilts so I could wear it for the rest of the Comic-Con. But obviously, if you look back at the photos of it from the Comic-Con to now, like, the chest plate was all wrong, it didn't sit right, and I hate looking at photos of it before.
Have you ever considered doing a professional photo shoot while in your Emperor costume?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I've got a few professional photographers that I'm friends with who really want to do a shoot in a location, but I also know Wildbox Studios who wants to do a showcase video of the Emperor, which I'm really looking forward to. I mean, instead of just kind of like, setting up in a really nice location and taking stills, it would be able to, I mean, I get a lot of people ask me how I walk in the costume, so I think it would be a nice way to showcase it and show how I can walk in the costume without struggling, and but it's not going to be like a fan-made video where I'm like, I'm the Emperor. It's going to be just a cool showcase one.
Fair enough. And stupid question, but does it ever get stupidly hot in that costume?
Oh my god, yeah. It's so uncomfortable to wear as well. Ever since I lifted the chest plate up, I put like styrofoam blocks in because I literally couldn't figure out how to do it without, kind of making a whole harness thing. And it just digs into my shoulders. And with the heat as well, you're just kind of cooking and you're uncomfortable, and it's a shame that he doesn't really wear a helmet because sometimes when you're really sweating and you have to keep smiling at people. I know, like, the Emperor doesn't smile, but I can't do, like, the resting bitch face that he does.
He does have a resting bitch face, actually, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I mean, somebody asked me to do that for a photo, but I can't help but laugh, so it doesn't really work out very well.
Ah, fair enough. If only you met someone at the Comic-Con who was dressed as Malkador or something.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I really want somebody to do a Horus costume so I can get a photo of that.
That would actually make a pretty awesome photo shoot as well.
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody's like done him, especially in the UK. So, if anybody's listening who cosplays, they should definitely do it and get in touch with me.
The good thing about a Horus costume as well, you got the two opportunities. Do you want to do the loyal, Horus before he's corrupted, or do you want to do Chaos Horus? The possibilities are endless. Well, not endless, just two choices, but still. You know what I mean. Yeah, and on that note, that pretty much brings us to the end of this edition. Again, thank you to Giulietta for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and we'll see you all again next time.